games themselves. One thing to note is kind of like who kind of friends you have, and everybody has different friends. So in my case, I have two friends that are like hardcore gamers who like to game a lot at home by themselves, and I have every other friend which is like they kind of casually play video games when they're at my house, but they usually don't play video games at home. Now, people who are watching this are probably going to be like the hardcore crowd, where you guys play quite a bit of video games. Now, why does that matter? Now, the first thing is certain games are very, very inaccessible to kind of newbies or casuals. Now, certain games are very accessible. So what do you do? Well, you kind of have both, right? So you have games that you can play with most of your friends, and you also have games that you can play with all your hardcore friends. Again, your hardcore friends can still play the kind of more casual-friendly games as well, but your casual friends aren't going to be good at playing the more tougher games. So how do you kind of tell the difference between, what would be like accessible and what's not? The very first thing is it split screen or is it share screen? See, split screen games, I find, is that it confuses a lot of players, especially players who don't usually play video games that much. Because, like, when you're playing a game, like a split screen game with a friend, that with a casual, half the time my friend's just trying to find me to get where I am. Because, again, it's quite disorienting to a player that doesn't play FPSs or, those kind of games that much. And this is a problem. So, generally speaking, I avoid playing split-screen games with casuals. The only exception are kind of racing games, because obviously it's on a track and you're just kind of going forward. But you can play something like Dynasty Warriors, or like a split-screen first-person shooter game, or Left 4 Dead. They get confused, and a lot of time is wasted just trying to find where I am, because they don't know where they're going, they don't know where I am. Even shooting enemies, it kind of confuses them. So share screen games are much better because they see both players' characters on that screen. So again, it's pretty straightforward from just to follow you as the lead player. Otherwise, there are also games with really difficult mechanics, which again isn't that casual friendly at all. The games with more complicated controls. Again, first-person shooters are generally actually kind of bad for this because there's more controls than, let's say, a platforming game where all they do is move forward and jump. And you think FPSs are pretty simple, and it is, but even trying to get a friend to kind of switch weapons, that can be kind of confusing to some. Because, again, they're just not used to playing games that much. It might sound silly, but, if you're going to play a game, and then if you're constantly explaining to your friend how to switch to, the grenade or something, that could really slow down your gameplay. In which case, you can play something simpler in that they can quickly just jump kind of like with you. So generally speaking, how you would play games would be, you would probably, as the host, be the best player, and you would probably kind of lead the group, especially if you have games with, let's say, 3 or 4 players, which are actually even more fun because you're getting even more friends involved. Again, so as the host, you'll be kind of leading the group, and you'll be the hero, and they're kind of following you and playing along, and they could either assist you by fighting enemies, or maybe they're just get themselves killed in like Mario or something. That can happen too. But again, it's important to have fun. So obviously some games are limited to 2 players. Some you can go up to 4 players. So as a library, it's important to kind of have both. Sometimes you have multiple friends over and you want everyone to play. Because again, if you have 2 friends over and you only have 2-player games, then one person's got to sit out, and that's really boring. So try your best to have a good selection of them. And again, it's important to have games that are casual friendly. You could also have hardcore games, but I find even the hardcore games, you're just going to play it less. Again, but this partially does depend on who you're playing with on the regular. If you have a sibling who you're constantly gaming with each other, yeah, you can play more tougher games. That's totally cool. But if your friends are just coming over casually, you probably want at least some simple games that people can play. And plus, if you want to play video games with your girlfriend or something, unless she's like a super good player, you probably want to keep it simple. So again, split screen games, like depending on what they're doing, the more freedom the players have, the more confusing it's going to get for your friends. So generally speaking, I avoid them. But there's a few split screen games which I do play, and I'll kind of go over them. The next will be cooperative versus versus. Now, you should at least have some versus games. I mean, if you're doing Street Fighter or Super Smash. But the problem with versus is, obviously, if every player has completely different skill levels and you're playing versus, there's a point where it's not fun for either of you, unless you're just being soft. Now, cooperative is a lot better because you're just working together, so even if you're, let's say, a parent and a child, players with completely different skill sets, that's not a problem. In addition, you get to have teamwork and communicate with each other and chatter in doing and executing certain maneuvers and trying to beat the game together. And that's a lot of fun. So generally speaking, cooperative is better than versus. especially, if you can get more players together, it's more fun. If you're getting 4 players together to play Rayman, it's a lot of fun. It's more fun than even 2 players, which is a lot of fun as well.
Hat exactly like yours. A man walks down the street with a hat like that. You know he's not afraid of anything.